And Monsanto representatives are on record to say in writing the Intellectual Property Treaty, the Patenting of Life Treaty, they were the patient, diagnostician and physician all in one. They defined the problem, and the problem for them was that farmers save seeds. And they offered a solution: let us criminalize seed saving. That's why I decided we will save seed and not allow it to be criminalized. They wrote the treaty, took it to the US government, then had it imposed literally on the rest of the world. It wasn't negotiated. Why did my country accept it? Because once we were members of WTO, even though our ambassador said intellectual property on life and plants is illegitimate, most governments of the world have put in submissions to the WTO to say this is an error, this is a mistake. We were forced through a WTO case. I mean, the WTO is a parliament, a court, and a government all in one. And the first case that was brought in WTO was against India, to force India to first patent seeds and life, and secondly, even more serious for the world, to allow patenting products in medicine, which means you can't make alternative generic drugs. Huge issue in India. We've done a lot to keep biopiracy out. We've done a lot to keep farmers' rights in, and that means the monopolies can't grow as fast as they'd like to. We've also put in clauses that say authentic invention will be given a patent. So the companies are very miserable because even when they take patents on drugs, they just change the formulation 70%, 30% to 75%, 25%, and it's a new drug. It's called evergreening.
Right, which is not authentic.
It's not authentic at all. And the most important point is the Indian laws said, if I find a different way of making something, then I can have an exclusive right to that process. But to have an exclusive right to the product, that means you work against people, their right to health. The same drug under a generic label costs 10,000 rupees, a cancer drug called Glivec. The same drug under Novartis's patent costs 175,000. The cotton seeds that have got farmers into debt, 5 rupees seed, now sold at 4,000 rupees, which is an 8,000% jump. The 5 rupee seed could be saved and grown year in and year out. The new seed has to be bought every year.
How much of this is the fact that in cultures that are what are called the so-called developed world, they just want goods and they want them cheap, and they want food and they want it cheap, and this is just what it is, and that no success of any country comes without breaking somebody else's back?
Well, the point is that cotton is costly if you take the price of the cotton seed. It's costly if you take the cost of the pesticides that have to be applied, even though BT cotton wasn't supposed to use pesticides, 13-fold increase. It's very costly if you take the human cost of the suicides. Why does all of this become cheap for a consumer culture and a consumer economy? First, because of the massive subsidies. $400 billion subsidies in agriculture is what the rich countries give to their agribusiness to then make costly products cheap. Second is monopoly. If I'm the only buyer of corn, I can buy it cheap. If I'm the only buyer of cotton, I can buy it cheap. And with subsidies, I can dump and drive down the prices. So the combination of free trade, so-called, dumping, subsidies, monopolies, that is what makes the paradox of high-cost production, which is what industrial agriculture is, produce low prices on our supermarket shelves.
When you